I'm ready. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's nice to have Tom here from Sodom to talk about The Arsonist. The album drops June 27th on Steam Hammer. Always nice to see some new Sodom material hit the airwaves. And you guys came out guns blazing with this one. 17th full-length album. Is it getting easier or harder?
I think it's always the same, and I think if you're still healthy to do it, if it's creative, writing songs, it's always the same,
As long as
And
it's
I hold it in my hand. I get the first copies of the box set.
Holy crap, there's a box set as well. I didn't know there was a box set.
Yes, yeah, yeah, different configuration, like a double vinyl CD box set. And after all the work, it's always a special day to hold that final product in my hand.
That is for sure. So let me ask you this: the arsonist, is there one person that is the arsonist in your viewpoint, or are we all a little bit of our very own arsonists?
Yeah, I think that is not a special person. Some people ask me, is it President Trump or is it President Putin, whatever? No, it is not. It describes the cover. You see the very peaceful situation with a soldier on the knees, death, finding a peaceful situation, and this guy is an arsonist. It's a Knarrenheinz. He destroys everything. He's gonna set the world on fire. That is not a special person. I don't want to talk about any names. I don't want to talk about politics in the lyrics in the album. The cover just describes the situation of the world we are living in nowadays.
With the themes of war being something that's always been part of Sodom's discography, if you will, this record has a lot of it as well. The world is providing you with a lot of material. I feel.
I think that is the biggest inspiration for me. Um, you know, the message is really simple, stop it. We want to live in a peaceful world, without any wars. But, on the lyrics, I don't want to write about the big war or the big politic behind. I don't want to tell the people who's a good guy or a bad guy, whatever, in a war. I just described, like on a song, for example, Tepophobia or Sane Insanity. It's about the World War One. I'm interested in historical things. Tapophobia is something when a soldier is fighting on a front in a trench, and he's scared that when grenades exploding next to him, he get buried by all the shit coming down. And I wanna try to describe the soldier, the small soldier who's fighting. And it's not about the dictators who are gonna send the people to the war and they'll never find themselves in the war. That's stupid. Um, but all the time wars are growing, and for me, it's an inspiration. Yeah.
I gotta say this. I discovered Sodom back in the day with Agent Orange. That was the album that I
Mhm.
discovered the band with. When I look at this record and how it sounds, I have to ask you, how much of what you saw as weaknesses when those first three records came out, do you feel that perhaps are strengths now?
I don't want to compare it. I remember back when we recorded for the first record or the second one, Obsessed by Cruelty, those different times. It was a different band. We were completely drunk all the time. Now we want to work more serious. And especially while we recorded the drums on a tape machine. And if recording on a tape machine, you have to work really hard on it and work really serious. Back in the days where we recorded Obsessed by Cruelty, for example, nobody told us to tune the guitars before recording started. And that was stupid. And after so many years, the way we're gonna record something or we do something is the same. So we never changed anything. So we come back to recording on tape machine, which is completely different to all the other productions we did the last years. But the recording process is always the same.
The album has that sense of consistency. When I was listening to this record, you know immediately you're listening to a Sodom album. And I think there's two
Yes.
reasons for it. One is the guitar sound is very particular, and the other one is your voice. Your voice sounds as good today as it did back then. What's the secret to your success?
So you're right. The guitars are the same. Um, it, so I think Sodom is not a typical thrash band, especially on this album. Because We also have a new songwriter in the band, which is Tony, our drummer. And he's also a good guitarist and a good songwriter. And he came up with 4 or 5 songs for the new album, which are completely different to Frank's guitar style. Frank is doing more the Agent Orange style classic thrash riffs.
Mhm.
And York is coming more from a new wave of British heavy metal fan, more epic bands. But it doesn't matter what kind of guitar riffs they're coming with. If we're gonna keep the Sodom trademarks in a song, which is my vocals, maybe the bass sound, the arrangements, it's a Sodom song. We always try to write songs with good chorus lines that you listen once or twice and never forget it. That is very important. So I don't think Sodom is a typical thrash metal band. So we can do regular metal riffs, we can do more black metal. Some people said on a Genesis 19 there was too much black metal influence in it. Come on, we started all the shit. Sodom was one of the first generations of black metal bands. And our drummer Tony, he's coming from the black and death metal scene. He had some other influences. It doesn't matter if you're gonna do black metal, or death metal, whatever. I'm able to sing all the kinds of music. Some people say it sounds like Tom Araya when I do the screaming parts, or it sounds like Kronos when I do more the growling parts. I am able to do it.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was going to ask you about Battle of Harvest Moon. That track, you actually sounded like a little bit like a bath. That track has a little bit of darkness to it. It still sounds like a Sodom track. It's just it's a little bit darker, has a little bit more black metal in it. And I thought that track was phenomenal. It's such a heavy hitting song, both musically, lyrically, and the way you deliver those vocals, it really adds like this eeriness to it. Do you see that as that perhaps as one of those more black metal songs on this record?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this song was written by Frank Blackfire, and I don't think that he is a big black metal fan. Um, I remember this, especially this song. We recorded the vocals in different styles. The screaming, the growling, or more the death metal growling, whatever. And then we decided just before we start the mix, we decided what's the best one for the chorus lines, for the verse, for the bridge, a pre-chorus, whatever. And yes, I think that's a really really good song. But sometimes it's better to scream it, better to growl it. And our engineer, he's not a metal fan. But he's a great musician. And he told me if you do the screaming part here and the growling on the chorus, that would fit perfect. So it's somebody. I like it when somebody has a meaning who is not a metal fan, who can help. Because I'm always thinking about what is the best one. And if somebody is not a metal fan and said it sounds better, you do the screaming on this part. I did it.
There's another song that I think has a very special meaning for you. That's Witch Hunter. Can you share a little bit of the meaning behind that track, the tribute that track is?
Yeah, it's a tribute. But I don't want to set him as a. I don't want to tell the people he was a big hero or whatever. He was a great drummer. He has a great impact to the metal scene, to the drummer scene in the 80s. And I don't know, Witch Hunters always present. My drummer Tony is a big Witch Hunter fan. We always talk about Chris Witch Hunter. Especially when we're listening to the older material for the re-recording of the 40 years sampler. And that was really funny to listen to Obsessed by Cruelty's the drumming. And Tony told me he liked this drumming because he created an own style of drumming, you know. And Tony always tried to copy the Witch Hunter style with more accuracy for nowadays, for modern drumming. Witch Hunters always present, and I came up with the idea writing a song about him. But if you're gonna read the lyrics, his life ends so tragic and horrible in the end because of alcohol abuse. I lost so many friends, good friends, because of alcohol and drug abuse. And Witch Hunter was one of them. He was my best friend in the beginning. I like the song. I got reviews from the song. The fans like it, and this is something for the next live set.
With your experience when it comes to that alcohol situation, do you see the metal genre in general a little bit more different now, where people are not drinking. There's a lot more people in bands who are alcohol free. There's a little bit more of a concern for health, I feel, these days. Back like in the
Yes.
80s and 90s, everybody was just partying as hard as possible.
Like myself, I was hard drinking all the time, especially in the 80s and the 90s, I remember we were drank in a coal mine. I was drunk in the German military, the Bundeswehr, There was alcohol in the 80s and 90s was all people were drinking all the time. We go to the bar every weekend, and drinking. And the last years, I remember I want to slow it down. I stopped drinking. I don't stop drinking, but I don't want to drink every day, you
Mhm.
know, because I'm so busy with the music. And nowadays, people, I know there's a lot of metal scene that don't drink alcohol. They are vegan. They don't eat meat, whatever. It's okay. It's a new wave of thinking about a healthy life, in my opinion. But in the 80s, everybody drank.
Yeah,
But some people couldn't stop, like Winchester, especially when I kicked him out of the band. He drank more than before. And I told him when we recorded the final Sound of Evil, for example, they stopped drinking. You have to record the drums today. He couldn't. Um, yes, but the time changed, the medicine changed, and everything. But in the 80s, all the people get drunk all the time.
yeah, I hear you. I remember those
We
days.
we drink before the show.
During
We
the
when
show,
during the show, we drink after the show all the time. It doesn't matter. After the show is before the show.
it all just becomes a big blur. It's just like you just drink all the time.
Yes, that's it. We do.
The show is
Yeah,
is an excuse to drink.
but if you got more serious, but more in a business, you cannot drink every day, because I'm also the manager of the band. I have to check everything. I have to work permanently in any projects. You cannot.
You
So
have
it's
to take
good
it.
for me that I stop.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't know when to stop, then your longevity is going to be reduced. That's for sure. And we've lost a
Yeah.
lot of great musicians because of it. You mentioned your bass. Where do you feel the bass sound has to be within the overall production and mix of the record for you to achieve that Sodom sound?
I think in this case, the bass could be a little bit louder, in my opinion. And I talked to the engineer, so like Venom had it's a loud bass sound on Motorhead. I have my own bass sound all over the years. I use a Marshall amp and I use a Sunsamp preamp. That's it. There is no other effects between. I want to have the pure bass sound. I get the same bass sound like on the live shows. And that's what I want to have with this production. I want to have an organic, natural sound production. And that's also the reason why we record it on tape, because the sound gets more organic. We also don't want to use any samples for the snare or like plugins what other bands gonna do, where the drum sounds like plastic. And the same with the guitar, recording the guitars and the bass with a microphone. I know that a lot of guitarists gonna use a Kemper profiling amps.
Mhm.
It's not the same. I want to keep the spirit between the cabinet speakers and the microphone. There is a special magic. And that's what I'm gonna try to catch with this production. The problem is, in the end, everything is getting digital because we have to copy it on a computer to mix it, to master it. And a lot of people are going to listen to music on a smartphone, so we have to compress the whole file, you know, to get the guitars on a smartphone because on a original mix, the guitars are left and right, like production in the 80s. And now we compress the file to get the guitars closer to the drums, to the vocals. That's the way the people listen to music nowadays on Spotify, YouTube, and smartphones.
It's crazy.
I
You have to think about that, and you have to adjust from one to the other, thinking of how do people now listening to my music versus how did people used to listen to my music.
Yes, in my opinion, when I listen to music, I get my hi-fi stereo equipment, and I want to celebrate enjoying listening to an album. It's not just consuming music. so much, you know. But the way it is, you know, it's on Spotify, it's everywhere. It's a record company, bring it on Amazon and all the stuff, you know. That's the way it is, you know. So I'm glad that we still got the vinyl and still got the tapes, you know. What there is a collector scene and people listening to tapes nowadays. It's coming back, all the shit, you know. And
Yeah,
that's good.
and I think it's more in the metal scene because I think more than any other genre of music, the metal listeners are the ones bringing the tapes back, the vinyl back.
Yes.
Everybody wants that old. We went through a phase where everybody wants everything so clear, and now everybody wants that more organic, rustic vibe
Yeah.
out of the sound.
Yes, I've also talked to friends and they're gonna celebrate it, you know, when the new album came out, you know, they're looking to the cover, putting the lyrics out, reading the lyrics, seeing the photos and everything, you know. It's like me in the 80s, you know. That was a celebration and I bought a new an album for my own money, you know.
I
And
was
I
the
put it
same
on
way.
a record player and my friends coming too, we listened to I remember I bought the first Motorhead album in 78, that was Overkill, you know. And my friends come over to my room and we listen to the Motorhead album, you know, looking to the cover and the pictures, the lyrics and all. That is kind of it's kind of ritual listening to music.
Yeah,
But
we would
nowadays
even.
you are able to consume 100 millions of songs on Spotify, whatever you want, you know. This
Yeah.
is not it's not my what I want to do.
Yeah, we used to because we didn't have a lot of money. So whenever you bought a record, you had to get the most out of that record. I would even check to see who the band was thanking, who are on the thank you notes, to see if there was another
Yes,
band there. Maybe I could discover another band from the thank you notes. The smell of the album when you open it up for that first time. All of those
yes,
things,
yes.
you cannot imitate that kind of stuff anymore. That was very special.
Yeah, especially when you spend a lot of money for it, you know. I remember my first album I bought was in 76, that was Rainbows Rising, and I paid 18 marks for it, you know. It was a lot of money in these times for me, you know. That was a celebration when I bring this album home, you know, and listen to it. That was completely different, you know. Yeah, but it's coming back, you know. We got different configurations like the box set, which is maybe 70 euros, you know, or maybe 75. If you don't want to spend the money, you know, you can buy the regular album or a CD, you know. But on the Arsonist box set, we also have a live EP in it, you know,
Oh wow, you
which is
guys
very
really went all
interesting.
out.
Yeah, it's I can show you for it. It's a tape and a
Oh
CD
wow, the
for
tape
the
looks
album.
cool, really old school.
Very old school. There was a patch, you know,
Wow, nice
and
patch.
all the stuff. That's something for the collector scene, I know. And as we also got a live EP, which is a shape inside, you know.
Wow, look at that. That is
like a
fucking
like
cool.
like a saw, you know.
Yeah, that is fucking cool.
That is what the metal, especially the metal scene want to have, you know, poster in it, the cards, you know, the photos and everything, you know.
Wow.
That's worse than the metal scene. So my record company, the metal fans, it's sold out. I've heard the box set already,
That
you
box set
know.
is worth the
The
it's definitely worth
pre-ordered are
the
so high at the moment, you know. And
I
that's
think
great,
it's
you know.
worth
And
it that
that's what I
you get a
really
big bang for
enjoy.
your buck.
Yes. And if you don't want to spend the money for it for a box set, you don't have to buy it. You know, I know it's 70 euros, it's a lot of money, but you get a lot of stuff in it, you know.
That is true. That is true. When it comes to the album and live shows, how much of this record now is going to take over your set list and future shows that you guys will play?
My I want to tell you something. My future shows will be just two. You know, we're gonna play the Copenhagen and we're gonna play the Rock Hearts, and then for me it's gone. You know, I'm sure you heard about some rumors about it. You know that I want to stop. You know, that's true. You know, and I told to my band last year that I want to slow down the things a little bit. You know, for me, we're gonna do the Rock Hearts show, and then I go home. You know. I want to spend more time with my family, with my good old friends, with my hunting, with all the stuff I'm gonna do with my horse, yes, that's true. But I don't have any plans for coming back, you know.
But you're not planning on stopping making music, are you?
No, no. I don't, but I don't have any plans for coming back for touring, making albums, whatever. I don't want to set myself under pressure when I tell the people I'm coming back in 2 or 3 years, whatever, I never think about it. My doctor said you were in a very good condition, but slow it down, if possible. So that's the way it is nowadays.
We need to keep you around for more years to come. If we have to wait every 5 years for a record, no pressure. Whenever you have new material, just put that shit out.
Yeah.
Fans like myself will appreciate it. I've been listening to Sodom, like I said, since Agent Orange. That was the album that I discovered the band with when I was a teenager.
Mm.
So I've been listening to you guys for a long, long, long time. And when I play this album, you guys sound as good on this album as you ever did. And it's very
Mm.
difficult for a band that's released 17 albums to still sound as good on album 17 as they did on album 1. It's impressive.
Yeah. So we never changed anything. What I told before, that is very important. That a lot of bands they changed the music in the 90s. To get more commercial. We never. We just want to do good solo songs. We have no inspirations, no dictations from outside, doing this, doing that. That is so. I think Sodom is the only band who never really changed. And
No,
in my opinion, Sodom is the most famous underground band in the world. I know that's the way we're gonna do the music. And we still have a strong fan base. That is very important. I have to tell you, the people they're gonna pay the price. They're gonna buy the albums. They're gonna buy the tickets. They're gonna buy the merchandise. They keep the band alive. That is something I always have to tell the people. They're gonna pay the price. They keep me alive. They keep the musicians alive. To make the live from the music. That is very important. But anyway, for me now, it's a break. I want to do some other things. But I am still bitter with the music. Now at the time we are working on, we released the Tapping the Veil. And now we start preparing everything for the re-release of Get What You Deserve. You know, and the BMG want to re-release a complete back catalog, step by step. And after Get What You Deserve, we're gonna talk about Obsessed by Cruelty re-release or Marooned Live. We have so many stuff to re-release. So I'm still busy. I'm still in the scene.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
But
you
I'm
guys,
not. But I'm not touring. In my age, you want to spend time on stage. That's my life. But I don't want to waste time on airports. On airplanes, shitty hotels, and whatever. Waiting for the show. And traveling around. You play one show in Mexico or South America, and you're traveling for 8 or 9 days. That's something you think about when you get in my age, when you get about 60, 62 years old.
I was going to say, are you 50? Because you don't look a day over 50.
I'm getting 62.
Ah, you look good for a 62, let me tell you. You look fine. You're aging like a fine whiskey. Not like
I, I'm still in good condition for my age. I'm still creative. I'm still have ideas doing this, doing that. The day will come. I don't have any ideas what to do. Then it's gone.
No, but I think you're taking the
But
right approach in terms of being more surgical in terms of where you're going to do and what are you going to play. I agree, man. Touring these days, first of all, is very expensive, and second, it
yes,
takes a huge physical toll on the musicians. People think they show up to a show, the band is playing, they don't understand what goes behind the scenes for that just
yes,
one show to even happen. You know what I mean?
yeah. All the paperwork. So that when we go to US America, you need the visa stuff. It's very expensive. I think last year we paid $3,000 for each visa and also for the crew
Hmm.
because the crew is also working. It doesn't matter if you're gonna do just one show or a big tour. It doesn't matter. You pay the price, and all this stuff. I know when we're gonna want to play in America, we have to travel, we have to go by plane, we have to do the visa stuff. I know. But for me now, I want to do some other things.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to respect that. And if you're taking a little bit of a
Yes,
break with an album like The Arsonist, I mean, you're giving us enough food for us to feed ourselves for a very long time. This is a phenomenal album. So I gotta really say that, I'm always very skeptical when, especially if legacy bands like Sodom been around for such a long time. You never know
Mm.
what a new record is going to bring. You guys did not reinvent the wheel. You just released another Sodom, solid Sodom record to add to the incredible
Mhm.
discography that the band has. So, Tom, really, thank you very much for your time today. Enjoy your time
Mhm.
off. Do whatever
Yes, I
makes you
will.
happy.
I will. I will go do more hunting, or do it. I have to work with my house. I have so many things, but I'm still busy with the music because of the re-releases and all the stuff. I am not out of this world. I'm still doing interviews when we re-release something. But I do just want to do my home office. That's the only way.
I agree with you. And also enjoy the family because you blink and it's gone. So you need to really enjoy the family, the time with the family. And I'm sure they want to enjoy the time with you.
I'm sure they will.
All right, Tom.
All
Thank
right.
you very
Thank you,
much. All
man.
the best. Take care, man.
Thank you. Bye bye.